Get faster internet speeds for free when you get TV, internet, and phone. Ask for Trio from Rev.
Join the revolution.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn responds to calls for his resignation following the June 7th referendum. That story coming up.
The police commissioner ready to take on the fear of crime.
You cannot, in a vibrant democracy, have people that commit murder walking your streets as if nothing has happened. Something is terribly wrong.
Former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet voices his support of Loretta Butler Turner and Dr. Dwayne Sands for F&M leadership. That story's straight ahead.
National Pride Day celebrated around the country. Welcome to our news. I'm Christina McNeil. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, amid calls for his resignation over his handling of the June 7th constitutional referendum, Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn today defended his role, suggesting that he will not resign. His comments came during a press conference this afternoon to announce plans for the 2017 general election. Simone Davis reports.
Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn has been silent since coming under heavy fire for major delays in the release of the constitutional referendum results. Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rawlins labeled the gender equality vote a debacle and asserted that Hall should not be allowed to remain in that top position heading into the next general election. After refusing to talk to reporters for weeks, Hall would only say this today when asked to respond to calls for his resignation.
No, why you want to ask me that? No, because we did nothing wrong, ma'am. We did the best job we could. We did nothing wrong.
Hours after polls closed on referendum night, Hall announced that all 4 questions on the ballot were defeated. However, most of the results for New Providence were still not available. Hall's defense of the Parliamentary Registration Department's handling of the June 7th referendum came during a news conference held to announce a new voters register ahead of the next general election.
This old card will become no longer valid come the 14th. This will expire. And then this is just a copy of not a real card. This card here becomes, the copy of this card will become the new 2017 card, yes.
He also explained why his department cannot issue the new cards at this time.
Because our electoral system is very sophisticated and the Boundary Commission must meet to decide whether there will be any changes to the 38 constituencies. I cannot issue the purple card at this time, immediately, because we have to first wait to see whether the Constituencies Commission will in fact make any changes to the constituency boundaries.
Hall said registration has been fairly slow, but he expects an increase in activity as the general election draws near.
Whenever the election is called, we hope to come close to that figure or above by the time the election is called.
Reporting for our news, I'm Simone Davis.
Thanks, Simone. Well, the country is being held hostage by a small group of criminals who continue to reoffend. That according to Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade, who suggested that criminals are the ones who should be living in fear.
We're being held to account by several little goons, I call them, who do not respect the Bahamas, do not respect the people of the Bahamas, do not respect the laws of the Bahamas, do not respect themselves, don't respect their own family members. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're going to have to draw a line in the sand. And we're going to have to say some meaningful things have to be done so that we are no longer in fear of these few bad persons.
It's not the first time the commissioner has called for changes to the current bail laws, especially in regard to murder and other serious crimes.
What I have to say is, I have a problem seeing that same person that we charge for an indictable offense, serious crimes, back in a community a few short weeks after the first charge, again reoffending, and again creating significant fear.
Rather, Greenslade says criminals ought to be afraid of Bahamian society.
People that are committing murder and serious crimes in the country need to be afraid of decent, well-meaning Bahamians far and wide. Whatever sector of the country you work in or society, they should be fearful of us in a legal and proper way.
2 weeks ago, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage said overall crime was down 29% between January 1st, 2016 and June 14th, 2016, compared to the same period last year. Despite the rhetoric, Greenslade says police have to work twice as hard to stop the bloodshed and keep an eye on criminals who should be monitored.
Many of them that we should be monitoring, we can't monitor anymore. We do not have the means to monitor them because they've been so successful in getting access to have the monitoring devices taken away.
Well, police say a man was shot dead shortly after pulling up into his yard last night in the Montrose Avenue area near the intersection of Wilton Street. Chief Superintendent of Police Clayton Fernander explains what police met when they arrived on the scene shortly after 10 o'clock.
Shortly after 10 p.m. tonight, officers responded to gunshots in this general area. On arrival and making checks, they discovered a lifeless body of a male, appeared to be in his late 30s, lying in the yard with gunshot wounds to the body.
The man, who has not yet been identified, was pronounced dead at the scene. Fernander says the investigation is still in the preliminary stages, but he provided these details.
The only information is that this individual had just pulled up home, and as he exited his vehicle, he was approached by unknown persons who shot him and fled.
Fernander added that the victim may be known to police.
That is unclear at this time, and we can't say if they left on foot or vehicle at this time.
Was the victim known to police?
That's a line of inquiry that we are following, but based on family members, we know who he is, but we want to respect them until we complete the official identification.
The country's murder count now stands at 63. Anyone with information in regard to this incident is asked to contact police at 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Well, in the wake of that fatal shooting, Commissioner Greenslade says he was disturbed to learn that the weapon used was similar to one used in the recent mass shooting attack in Orlando.
Yes, let me elaborate. It means that a high-powered assault weapon of the type that was used at the Pulse nightclub, let me be direct with the public, was on that scene. Probably more than one. The amount of projectiles, the caliber of the projectiles says that an assault weapon used in Afghanistan, used in Iraq, and even more high-powered than the one used at the Pulse nightclub, was in our Bahamian community last night, and it did tremendous damage. Tremendous damage. And the gun is still out there.
Police have a pretty good idea of who is believed to be responsible and will go after them.
And I have several of them now in custody and counting, and I'm going after the rest of them right now. And a lot of people are going to be upset, but I'm going after them. And I want them to know that.
Investigations continue. Still to come, former F&M Deputy Leader Brent Simonet weighs in on the race for party leadership.
A top drug official weighs in on decriminalizing marijuana. That story straight ahead.
That's coming up when our news returns.